Hi, this is Wildfield Jarrett coming at you from the unhappiest state in the U.S. of A, West by God, Virginia. I'm reading poetry from my book, When Green the Grass That Grow Around the Fumbles of Desire. Phil Jarrett. Right, Philip Jarrett. Yeah. Okay. Now, you can find this book. I put it out on Lulu, and it should be on Amazon. I encourage you to get a copy. I've never sold that many of them. I had a first edition of a book out in the 60s, and it did sell out. Yes, it took us till, 2003, I think it was, but we sold all the copies finally. So I don't hold much with books of poetry, because poetry in this country is kind of in dire need of a rebirth. But don't get me started on that. I just want to read you a poem I wrote about the city of Nashville, Tennessee, back in the day. It's called simply Nashville, 1971. With a dozen roses from Tyler, Texas, stems pressed between my elbow and my side, blossoms jutting out beneath my shoulder like a burst of blood frozen by the camera in a cheap and violent movie. I lope easily across the rain-engorged alley, my dingoes squishing shamelessly in the mud, erupting small splashes of sound into the early Sunday morning silence. Then, from the alley, I ascend the gentle rise to the glass-slick, rain-washed lawn of a tall, rambling 3-story house, turned gray with vampire winter's wind sucking life from the ancient whitewashed walls. Now the leather on my boots squeaks on splintered stairs, a sneaky, sheepish sound. My run ended, I am suddenly slowed. Not ready yet to announce my arrival, I carefully climbed the wooden backless steps uneasily attached to the rear of her house, to the first landing and the single eye of the back door window whose lacy curtains are half closed as if what lay behind were feigning sleep and watching me greedily behind an eyelash-thin wall. Now, shuffling the mud from my boots into the frilly fibers of her doormat, I feel a massive, incredible wave of adolescent shyness sweep past my adult sophistications and drown my will beneath a flood of indecision. I hold the roses before me in one hand, an ineffectual barrier fooling no one. My free hand stretches out, one finger trembles. The trembling translates into a noisy staccato buzzing of her unfeminine, unnerving doorbell. I stand back to gray and ugly sky, facing a door and a wall of gray and lifeless wood, and feeling just as gray from the inside of my ash-dry mouth to the paleness of my nearly fainting face, with a ridiculous, incongruous bouquet of obscenely red roses, mocking all the gray and coldness in the air and the wood and in me. And the door opens, moving on mysteriously silent hinges in a world where such things nearly always creep and rasp. And a gasp of air envelops me like the breath of a child escaping all at once, astonished by the splendor of the tree on Christmas morning, warm and tingly, vibrating with 1,000 whispers and promises, laced with the twin smells of baking bread from an oven somewhere nearby, and a perfume that strikes with a pungent serpentine sensuality, transforming the yeasty image of bread rising into a throat-catching erotic flash of twin breasts rising, pale and flowery, from a shocking silky slip of negligee. My eyes skid past her, careening off walls and floor and assorted pieces of Salvation Army furnitures and mirrors and stained glass, deafening lamps, till breaking and boomeranging I force my focus to her face. My elbow creaks, arthritic and threatening to pop loudly. as my automatic arm thrust the roses forward, unnecessarily close to her pert nose. I stand in the space between seconds ticking by, and my mind begins to vibrate with a low hum. I stare into her solemn, searching eyes, and know that if she does not smile soon, my whole arm will be palsied with a violent, uncontrollable spasm, and I'll scatter a cascade of rose petals at her feet, and turn and leap down the stairs in a complete and utterly defeated rout, and run back across her yard, through the mud of the alley, to my hollow room. And in the instant, when it seems the fabric of time itself must surely rip from the strain, a faint butterfly shadow of a smile passes over her serious, until now unapproachable, face. The roses bunch lightly to her breast. She turns slightly, and with the delicate motion of a fragile-fingered, impossibly feminine hand, she invites me in.